Hello, and welcome to today's training on HUD's new Section 3 reporting system. My name is Stacy Gilliam, and I am the Director of HUD's Economic Opportunity Division, the office that's responsible for the administration and oversight of HUD's Section 3 requirements. Recently, the nation commemorated the 50th anniversary of the March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom, one of the many events of the Civil Rights era that laid the foundation for Congress's passage of the Section 3 Act. Section 3, for those of you who don't know, is Section 3 of the Housing and Urban Development Act of 1968. It was born out of Dr. King's War on Poverty, the Poor People's Campaign, and the March on Poverty that took place in the wake of the assassination of Dr. King. Dr. King and his successors were aware that poverty affects persons of every race, gender, and nationality, and especially veterans and persons with disabilities. They also knew that having an honest job that pays decent and livable wages is the ultimate civil right. Section 3 was designed to level the playing field for the working poor. As one of my colleagues likes to say, it's a hand up, not a handout. It gives low-income workers the unmeasurable sense of dignity that comes from a hard day's work. HUD is one of the largest sources of federal dollars in communities across the country. Our recent annual budget was more than $70 billion. Just about every local road improvement, infrastructure project, multifamily housing property, community center, library, or park has some HUD funding in it. The purpose of Section 3 is to ensure that when HUD is building something in your community with your tax dollars, local residents with the greatest economic needs and the businesses that employ them receive preference for HUD-funded employment, training, and contracting opportunities. Section 3 is unique to HUD and holds our agency to a higher standard for ensuring that HUD money does more than build decent, safe, and sanitary housing. It also builds self-sufficient residents who are actively involved in improving their communities. Section 3 creates a multiplier effect for HUD dollars because these funds ultimately become local contracts and wages that allow residents to buy goods and services in their community, become first-time homeowners, get a college education, or otherwise invest in the local economy. In recent years, HUD has increased its efforts to improve the overall effectiveness of Section 3. The agency has increased the percentage of Section 3 reports submitted annually from 20% to nearly 80%. In 2010, funding was provided to 12 agencies to hire Section 3 coordinators for 1 year. In 2011, HUD launched the Section 3 Business Registry pilot program in 5 metropolitan areas. And over the past 5 years, more has been done to strengthen Section 3 enforcement actions and to provide training and technical assistance to help grantees meet their obligations. The new Section 3 reporting system that will be described today is one of the department's latest attempts to improve the administration and oversight of Section 3. It was developed in response to the frustrations that many of you experienced with the former system and is designed to reduce administrative burden, decrease user errors, and ensure that grantees are submitting reports for all covered HUD funding that they spend each year. This new system is the first of several phases of enhancements to the Section 3 reporting system that HUD will be implementing over time. I hope that you will find today's training very informative and that HUD's new Section 3 reporting system addresses the challenges that you may have experienced in the past. After today's session, this training will be archived and a link will be posted on the Section 3 webpage. I'd also like to encourage you to submit questions about the new Section 3 reporting system via email to 60002questions@hud.gov. That's 6, 3 zeros, the number 2, questions@hud.gov. With that, I'd like to turn this training over to today's presenter, Rafiq Munir. Rafiq is one of the senior program analysts in HUD's Section 3 division. He brings more than 20 years of HUD experience to today's training, half of which has been devoted to carrying out the mission of Section 3. Rafiq?
Welcome, and thank you for joining us today. It is my pleasure to present our new Section 3 Summary Reporting System, also known as the 60002 system. It has been a long time coming, and I am happy to introduce this new release. I'd like to acknowledge the leadership of this endeavor to the director, Stacy Gilliam. Also, I would like to take this opportunity to acknowledge Will Brandt and Nina Ayton from our Information Technology Office for bringing this project to completion. The agenda today will include an overview of Section 3 reporting, limitations of the existing system, highlights of the new system, and example submissions on the new system, and a discussion of the transition process for HUD grantees. Form HUD 60002 is the designated reporting instrument to capture or summarize a grantee's employment, training, and contracting activity covered by Section 3. Submission of Form HUD 60002 was initially automated through an online reporting system developed over a decade ago in the late 1990s. Since that time, several minor patches or tweaks were issued to address recurring problems and shortcomings, but until now, never a comprehensive overhaul. Section 3 is HUD's job creation program. Its purpose is to ensure that economic opportunities in the form of jobs, training, and contracting are directed to low and very low income persons, especially those that receive federal assistance for housing, such as public housing residents and Section 8 voucher holders. With increased departmental emphasis on enforcement for compliance with the requirements of Section 3 in recent years, reporting has become more critical for effective monitoring and tracking of programmatic trends on a local, state, regional, and national basis. From a national perspective, data submitted for fiscal year 2012 by HUD grantees or direct recipients of HUD funding, including but not limited to public housing authorities, state and local governments, areas that were hit by natural disasters, competitive grant programs such as lead-based paint abatement and housing for low-income elderly and disabled persons, as well as funding awarded to nonprofits to address other community needs, indicated nearly 60,000 new jobs. 48%, or nearly half of these new jobs, were obtained by Section 3 residents, defined as local, low-income persons. During the same period, these agencies reported $8.7 billion in construction contracts, $823 million of which were awarded to approximately 5,000 Section 3 businesses, those that substantially employ local, low, and very low-income persons. The single most significant change or improvement provided by the new system, and I repeat, the single most significant change or improvement is the direct link to HUD's Line of Credit Control System, or LOCCS. LOCCS is the department's checkbook that provides real-time financial tracking of all expenditures or drawdowns by grantees or recipients of HUD funding. LOCCS currently provides disbursement controls for over 100 HUD programs and disperses over $20 billion to thousands of HUD business partners annually. This link is essential for recording Section 3 activity because it is the expenditure of funding, not the award of funding, that generates or creates jobs and training for Section 3 residents and contracts for Section 3 businesses. To expedite the release of the new system, there are no new or additional questions than those found in the old system. We have, however, dropped reference to amount of award, again because it is the expenditure of funding that creates opportunities. Due dates for reporting will remain the same. The reporting period for all grantees will coincide with the federal fiscal year, October 1st to September 30th, consistent with financial data extracted from LOCCS. Since many grantees or recipients of HUD funding manage or administer multiple programs, the new system facilitates multiple submissions. You no longer have to exit the system to submit additional reports. Another important feature is that the new system will prevent submission of a form without an explanation in cases where the minimum numerical goals are not met. The goals of Section 3, 30% for employment, 10% for construction contracting, and 3% for non-construction contracting, must be met to the greatest extent feasible. If it is not feasible, a grantee or recipient of HUD funding must explain why it was not feasible to do so. It is important for recipients of Section 3 covered funding to document their good faith efforts when they fail to reach the minimum numerical goals. Such explanations could include a description of past attempts to register and certify residents and businesses, providing updates of sponsored job fairs, attempts to collaborate with local business associations, partnerships with community colleges and vocational education institutions, or a description of procedures to discuss the requirements of Section 3 at pre-bid contract meetings. A reasonable explanation will demonstrate compliance with Section 3 when the grantee falls short of reaching the employment and contracting goals. Other features added to the new system include safeguards against incomplete reporting and alerts for shortfalls in reaching the numerical goals. Last but not least, the new system will accept reports from direct recipients of HUD funding only. To summarize, the old system was developed with outdated software, emphasized the amount of award instead of expenditures, allowed incomplete reporting, was prone to failure, and confused users about how to enter data. The new system was developed with current web-based software, utilizes a direct link to LOCCS, HUD's financial reporting system, incorporates safeguards against incomplete reporting, and facilitates multiple submissions for grantees that administer several programs. With no further ado, let's explore the new system. To accomplish this, we will review a series of screenshots of sample report submissions. If your agency is highlighted, don't be alarmed. These are just examples. To access the new system, click on the new link posted to the Section 3 webpage. We will use the City of Houston, Texas Neighborhood Stabilization Program, or NSF, for the first example. Upon entry, the first page is the agency selection page. You will note that there are 3 tabs at the top left of the form that provides instructions, access to frequently asked questions or FAQs, and a link to email questions under the tab Contact Us. The email setup for questions specific to the new system is 60,002 questions@hud.gov. Once the state, city, and agency have been selected, the user will select Continue to proceed to the next screen, the agency profile page. This page displays the recipient name, address, city, state, zip code on the left side. This information is pre-populated with data extracted directly from LOCCS. It cannot be altered. This billing address may differ from the physical address of the grantee. On the right side is contact information, including name of the person completing the form or other designated contact, telephone and fax number, and email address. This information may or may not be pre-populated with data extracted from the old system. You can update the information when necessary. If it is blank, fill in the contact information and select Continue to proceed to the agency expenditure summary page. This page outlines the total expenditure during the respective reporting period for each program that the grantee administers. It is extracted directly from LOCCS and provides a listing of program codes to the left, the associated program name, and the total drawdown amount or expenditure for the reporting period. Initially, only financial data will be displayed for federal fiscal year 2013, the period from October 1, 2012 to September 30, 2013. Section 3 covers a variety of HUD programs. Displayed in this example are 10 codes that we have determined are potentially covered by Section 3. The Emergency Shelter Grant, or ESG program, would be covered only if some portion of it was used for construction or rehabilitation of a homeless shelter. The second line, EC1, or Entitled Cities, is a Community Development Block Grant Program, or CDBG. The same criteria would apply. Construction, rehabilitation, and other public construction, such as infrastructure, are the three areas of activity covered by Section 3 for all housing and community development programs, or non-public housing programs. For public housing programs, Section 3 covers a broader spectrum of activity. In addition to expenditures for construction, rehabilitation, and other public construction, expenditures for day-to-day operations are covered, as well as a public housing authority's operating subsidy account. This would include positions funded from this account, everyone from clerical support staff to the executive director, as well as expenditures for routine maintenance, landscaping, janitorial services, accounting, legal services, and heating and ventilation. Once a report is submitted, a notation will appear at the bottom left of the page in the area labeled Agency Submission Summary 2013. It is blank because no reports have been submitted. The user selects Start Report to proceed to the New Hire page. From the New Hire page, the user selects the Neighborhood Stabilization Program, or NSP, with an expenditure of $6,091,703 at the top of the page in the small box. The New Hire page allows the user to enter data on the number of all new hires, Section 3 new hires, Section 3 trainees, as well as the optional column to enter the percentage of staff hours for Section 3 employees. Again, this column is optional. The user can select a job category or describe one not listed. In this example, the grantee has exceeded the employment goal at 30.8%. Once completed to the user's satisfaction, the user selects Continue to proceed to the contracting page. Similar to Part 2 of the old system, the user enters data or construction and non-construction contracting. In this example, the 10% goal for construction contracting has been exceeded, but the 3% goal for non-construction contracting has not been reached at 2.5%. Proceeding to the summary page, the user will see all the data previously entered and an indication regarding compliance with the numerical goals. In this example, employment and construction contracting goals are met, but the non-construction goal is not met. The user will be alerted to enter an explanation on the following compliance page. In this example, an explanation has been entered at the bottom of the page to describe why the non-construction goal was not met. The user proceeds to the certification page and has the option of printing a PDF copy of the report before final submission. The report is complete only after the user submits the report. For our next example, we will use a public housing authority, specifically the Indianapolis Housing Authority, from the agency selection page. The user has made the selection and proceeds to the agency profile page. After verifying the contact information is correct, the user proceeds to the agency expenditure summary page. You will note on the second line that the operating subsidy account is called the Performance Funding System, coded PFS in the LOCCS system. The third line lists a supplemental hardship operating account, and the last line shows funding for the Resident Opportunity Supportive Services Program, or ROS. Next, the user proceeds to the new hire page. From the box labeled Program Code Name, near the top left under Agency Name, the user selects the Capital Fund Program, or CFP, with an expenditure of $2.2 million and selects Continue without entering any employment data. This time, however, an alert pops up to advise that the explanation will be required on the compliance page. The user enters 5 new hires and 10 Section 3 new hires. Since Section 3 new hires is a subset of all new hires, the error prompts another alert. The user corrects the error and proceeds to the contracting page. This time, the user enters $1 million for total construction contracts and $5 million for Section 3 construction contracts. An alert pops up since the latter is a subset of the former. The user corrects the error but enters $5,000 for the number of Section 3 businesses receiving construction contracts. Another alert pops up. The user corrects the error and proceeds to the summary page. After review, the user proceeds to the compliance page, but first is alerted that 2 of the 3 goals were not met and an explanation will have to be provided. The user proceeds to the compliance page and then attempts to skip to the certification page without providing an explanation. That completes our second example. We presented scenarios with a variety of errors to demonstrate the associated alerts and warnings that would prevent the submission of erroneous reports resulting from bad logic. These safeguards were put in place while the system was under development. An added benefit is that they address findings from a recent audit conducted by HUD's Office of the Inspector General. To recap, these measures serve to prevent erroneous entries by facilitating complete reporting for all program expenditures, checking that Section 3 hires remain a subset of all new hires, checking that Section 3 contracting is less than or equal to the total contracting, limiting the number of Section 3 businesses, and prevents submission of reports that do not meet Section 3 employment or contracting numerical goals without an explanation. Future enhancements will include a password protection feature. Users will be properly notified of the change in advance. The old system has been deactivated. The new system is available now. You can access the new system from a link posted on the Section 3 webpage at www.hud.gov/Section 3. Reporting due dates remain the same. January 10th for public housing authorities. For housing and community development agencies, they will submit reports with existing annual performance reporting schedules. The reporting period for everyone coincides with the federal fiscal cycle, again, October 1st to September 30th. Data has been uploaded for 2013 and will be updated annually. Will be provided as time and resources permit. Again, we ask our viewers to post questions at 60002.hud.gov. The slides used during today's presentation will be posted on the Section 3 website for your reference. We encourage the audience to review the FAQ document on the Section 3 website for general questions about Section 3. Grantees should keep in mind that all reports are to be submitted electronically. Paper forms are no longer acceptable. Now, let's address some of the questions that have come in. First question: when will the new system become available? The new system is scheduled to be available this Friday, December 20th. Follow the link on the Section 3 webpage at www.hud.gov/Section 3. Okay, next question. What type of software will be required to use the new system? The system has been tested to work with Internet Explorer version 8, as well as Firefox version 25. It should work with other browsers as well. If you experience any difficulties, contact us at 60002questions.hud.gov. All right, next question. What will be done if my agency is not listed? The information is pre-populated on the system and extracted from HUD's Line of Credit Control System, or LOCCS. It makes reference to the billing address for financial transactions. If you do not locate your agency, contact our office for assistance. Next question. What should we do when the funding listed is not covered by Section 3? If some or all of the funding listed for a particular program was not used for a Section 3 covered activity, provide an explanation on the compliance page in the comment box at the bottom. Next question. How do we update pre-populated agency information? This information is used for financial transactions with your agency. Contact your financial staff to discuss any changes needed. Next question. How do we report projects funded by allocations from multiple years? The funding information presented on the agency expenditure page is the amount drawn down during the current fiscal year, regardless of when the award or allocation was initially awarded. We are looking for employment and contracting generated from funding expended during a reporting period. Many of these questions will be incorporated in our FAQ document as part of the guidance material. Okay, next question. My understanding is that Section 3 covers HUD-funded projects, both fully or partially funded, or leveraged with state, local, or private funding. How do we report on the non-HUD funded portion? That's a great question. The new system will allow reporting of total project expenditures, HUD funding as well as leveraged non-HUD funding for mixed finance projects. The amount entered on the contracting page can exceed the total drawdown amount for the particular program funding source in question. This will facilitate reporting on projects using 2 or more sources of funding as well. For example, you could report on a project funded with Neighborhood Stabilization Funds, or NSP funds, supplemented with block grant funding, or CDBG funding. Just make a notation on the compliance page to explain. A future release of the Section 3 reporting system will accommodate more detailed reporting on mixed finance projects. Regarding project expenditures, grantees are reminded that once the cumulative total that appears in red on the agency expenditure page exceeds $200,000, all Section 3 covered activity, construction, rehabilitation, and other public construction for housing and community development grantees is covered, regardless of project size. For Public Housing Authority, there are no thresholds, and Section 3 covers a broader spectrum of activity, including maintenance, and day-to-day operations. For more information, refer to the FAQ document on the Section 3 webpage. Okay, getting back to questions regarding reporting, let's explore the next question. Since PHAs report on a calendar year basis, my previous report covered January 1st to December 31st, 2012. My understanding is that the new system requires reporting to coincide with the federal fiscal cycle, October 1st to September 30th. Should I report Section 3 outcomes this year based on the 9-month period from January 1st to September 30th, 2013, to avoid double counting of outcomes? Another excellent question. Since we are transitioning to a new system, all reports submitted for 2013 and beyond should be based on the federal fiscal cycle, October 1st to September 30th. To the extent we experience some double counting with past reports, that's an acceptable trade-off for consistency among all grantees. Remember, reporting due dates have not changed. Let's review a few more questions. I've heard that HUD has new regulations for Section 3. How does that affect reporting? We are operating under the current set of regulations. When new regulations are finalized for public comment, a notice will be posted in the Federal Register. Okay, next question. Will I be able to make corrections to previously submitted reports? At this point in time, you will have to contact our office for corrections or resubmissions, the same way it was handled in the old system. Once IDs and passwords are incorporated into the new system, you may have more control over report submissions. On to the next question. Will the reports be posted for public review? In the spirit of transparency, we are working on a procedure to post summary information by grantee on our website. Please stay tuned. Next question. Under the new hire section, should we include staff transferred to new positions or just new hires? You should report new hires only. Personnel transferred to different positions are not considered a gain in overall net employment. We'll entertain one more question for now. What should we do if there were no new Section 3 new hires or no awards to Section 3 businesses? You should provide a reasonable explanation of your best efforts to hire Section 3 residents and to award contracts to Section 3 businesses on the compliance page in the comment box provided. If you had a burning question that was not answered today, we will get back to you as soon as possible. Again, I'd like to thank everyone for joining us today. I'm told that we hosted over 1,400 participants for today's broadcast. That's outstanding. This webcast will be archived for those who did not get an opportunity to view the webcast today. For future updates regarding training on Section 3, consider joining the Section 3 mailing list. Directions are posted on the Section 3 webpage at www.hud.gov/Section 3. We look forward to receiving your reports in the new system. As with any significant change, we anticipate some minor problems during the transition. Again, the new system represents a major step towards effective administrative oversight of Section 3 with the provision of expenditures by program funding directly from the department's financial accounting system. We look forward to working with all of you to provide economic opportunities to those that need it most. Thank you. That concludes our training today.